So welcome to an amazing module number 7 of Firm Excellence. And we've got loads to share with you this week around a really useful tool that we believe is going to help you with your firm in not only the future, but also in the weeks and months ahead. This week, we're going to be talking about a really exciting subject, and it's called coaching success. In order to do that, we're going to share with you and show you how it works, our iCOACH module. Coaching is considered to be one of the most important tools being used around the world today to get even more out of your life and even more out of your business. Before we get started, though, let's take an overview of where we're beginning. As many of you know, we've done many modules so far in Firm Excellence, ranging from your personal differentiation, the power of your language, some brilliant communication tools, and of course, blockbuster networking. And on top of that, some more fantastic content around mind changes. And as recent last week, we looked at the ICANN module. This week, though, within iCOACH, we're going to take you through the model. First of all, help you understand what coaching influence is, the mindset required, the importance of connecting first, also why and you must make sure not only do you open your own mind, but the mind of the coachee, the actions you need to take, how to get commitment, and more importantly, how to turn this into a habit, and why we spell habit today with a double B. Before we go any further, though, we have to consider two things. As we do that, I'd like you to ask yourself the question, where does coaching come from? Please turn to page 19 in your thought binder. You'll see there's a whole page all about coaching. More importantly, if you turn the page over, you will also see blank pages in your thought book to capture any anecdotal things we talk about during the module. You see, coaching comes from the world of sport. It would not surprise you whether you're playing American football, conducting athletics, doing any type of sports activity, to find coaches involved. Whether you go back to the 1936 Olympics and the coaching impact to a famous then Jesse Owen, whether you look at Usain Bolt recently winning gold medal at the Olympics once again, coaching has been a pivotal thing in sport for many, many years. Beyond its origins, I'd like to look at the true origins of coaching. You see, what sport teaches us, it teaches us that coaching is built around co-achievement. Co-achievement is that literal act of standing side by side with your coachee. A great coach or a great coaching conversation allows the coach and the coachee to fundamentally take a look at the perspective of both parties, standing shoulder to shoulder. In fact, in business today, coaching has become more important than ever before. If you have a load of people in your firm, in your payroll vault practice, and you're looking to get maybe 10% more, maybe you're looking to give them more responsibility, maybe you're looking to develop the talent in your company. Or in this case, you could even be looking to coach yourself. Whatever the reason, coaching is one of the critical people keys that allows you to invest your time, invest your money, invest your wisdom to help others realize their true potential. Last week, we spoke about ICANN. ICANN was focused around the choices you can make, the attitude you can build, and how to apply that right now in your company. This week, though, we're looking at others. We're looking at other people, how to coach them, and how to get the absolute best both out of your coachee and out of your coaching. Before we go any further, though, I'd like you to score yourself for coaching, where 10 is you are a world-class coach, and 1, you've never done coaching before. Coaching is a tool and a style that you use depending on the task at hand. If you put yourself down as a 7 out of 10, I'd like you to consider your score, whatever your score is, once again at the end of this call. When we get to the end of the call, I'm going to ask you to score a second time round to see if your score goes up or to see if your score goes down. Coaching is a skill that's worth harnessing, whether it's in sports coaching, personal coaching, or even in this case, coaching in your business. Coaching is a critical key to guarantee that you can unlock the growth, that next evolution of growth you know is in your firm and you know is in your people. One last question. I often like to ask, as a leadership coach, leaders of companies to answer a single question. And I ask this question: what is the primary skill of a leader in the modern day of business? Many people come up with loads of different answers. They tell me it's communication. They tell me it's about building culture. Yet, the one thing you can do as a primary skill every single day in your company is coach all of those people you work with and coach those that are around you. Really help them to grow and co-achieve. Now, in order to get the most out of coaching, we'd like to share with you, as part of Firm Excellence, 4 power coaching tools. I'm sure many of you on the call have one of those pictures you can see on the screen. You have one of those power drills. Power drills take the strain out of doing home DIY. These days, they run on lithium-ion state-of-the-art batteries, and they also have a double function of being a screwdriver and a hammer drill, allowing you to do more than one thing. Coaching is the same. The 4 power tools I'd like to share with you before we look at iCOACH, the coaching model on page 19 in your books. 4 power tools that will see you in really good stead. They help you prepare and they make sure you focus on the right areas of coaching. Here's power tool number 1. We call it strength versus weakness. There was a study done recently in the USA, and they were looking at how long does it take to improve a strength area exponentially versus building a weakness. They found that an hour spent on really harnessing your strength was 10 times more powerful than a lifetime spent working on your weakness. If you're a firm owner, if you're a Payroll Vault practice owner, if you're a member of the Payroll Vault corporate team, are you clear on your strengths? Do you know which ones you need to work on? What would be the value to your company if you made them even better? When it comes to coaching, spending more time coaching someone's strength versus harnessing their weaknesses is far more profitable than anything else. If someone has some critical weaknesses, you literally have to circle it and really focus in on the detail to find the accelerated change required within the coaching. The rest of the time, though, recruit well and focus on making your strengths a real asset to you. This is something you can apply to both yourself and your firm. Let's look at powerful power tool number 2. The second thing about this is understand the absolute truth of a situation. You see, I find as a leadership coach that if someone does not really understand either the severity of their situation or the step up that's required in their role, in their behavior, and in their business, it is much harder to acquire the knowledge and still apply the right powerful beliefs to really help them get this right in their life and in their work. The truth sets us free. That's a saying that's said in many different countries around the world. In fact, I believe it's also in the Bible. Being really clear and being candid, and of course, being really honest about how you look at your own situation and those that you're coaching is one of the keys to ensuring that you're able to elicit, build, and impart the best beliefs in order to succeed with the goal at hand. Being really clear allows you to be certain about the knowledge required to make the most and the best of the coaching experience. Beliefs are also important for believing in the potential of the person you're coaching. We were working with a client here recently, a global brand, and we were asked by an internal training team, what did we think of the people in the room? They told us of these 30 delegates, all of the reasons why they felt that people weren't quite up to scratch. Maybe they had baggage issues or they were carrying around with them concerns. I remember being asked this question and they said, what do you think? And as a coach, I answered in the following way. Our job at RLC is to turn up as a coaching provider, ready and prepared to see the best in that person. Whether the company has placed somebody in our room in a workshop where maybe they're genuinely not quite good enough is irrelevant. Because as coaches, we know if we can't see the best in a situation, the coachee may never ever get the opportunity to do it. Coaching requires you have the right beliefs about the coaching you're going to do. If you have serious doubts about the person you're about to coach, and you genuinely are unable to believe in the coaching you're about to do, this is simply a clue you should have a candid conversation instead of a coaching conversation. The third tool that's vital in great coaching is to kill the negative. The easiest way to do this is to eliminate during your coaching session, either by yourself or when you're coaching someone else, all negative language. Any type of negative expression. Let me give you an example. This week on Wednesday, I was with a group in a city in England coaching some memory words. And by that I mean we had a list of 20 words. Those 20 words were going to be coached to a group who believed their memory was poor. During that session, we asked them to follow 4 rules. Number 1, they couldn't write things down. Number 2 was to trust the coaching. Number 3 was to only use their mind. And number 4, here's the best bit, to become acutely aware of the things and the thoughts they were saying to themselves, such as, I find this hard. Oh, this is going to be a struggle. Killing the negative is eliminating all levels of negativity from your mind from your vocabulary, and from the way that you see and act during the coaching. It is something simply you cannot have in the team. You can apply this in leadership as well as coaching. Power tool number 4 is mind changes. When someone wants to make a major change during a coaching conversation in your firm, share with them a mind changer. Talk to them about how you as a person have been using them as part of firm excellence. Maybe share with them there are mind techniques and tools that can help you really solidify not only a belief change in your life, also they can solidify your goals, your ambition, your career progression. Let them see how some of the best sports people in the world today spend time regularly visualizing success in their world and in their lives. Mind changes help us forge and form together those neurological pathways. If you'd like to know more about mind changes, I'd like to invite you to reach out to Kevin in our LA office. Kevin is a master at mind changes. He's been using these now for some time. They really do make a masterful improvement to your thought life, to your well-being, to your emotional responses, and more importantly, within coaching, to real goal achievement. The power tools are designed to equip you to make sure that when you're using iCOACH, you can get ready first. Whether it's leadership or whether it's coaching, you being in the right space is your responsibility. In fact, I would go as far as saying, if you're about to do a coaching conversation and you're not in the right mindset, and you are maybe unable to change your thought process, I would literally postpone the coaching. Coaching without the coach being ready is a fruitless task. If you're unable to see the potential in that person, literally going for a coffee or going for a walk would be far more productive than getting lost in the world of coaching. Now, before we get into iCOACH, I'd like to ask you a question. Earlier, you gave yourself a score. We did a study through countless workshops setting a task for groups of people. The task went as follows. We would ask 4 or 5 people in a group to come up with a way to guarantee the success of somebody on their first day in the firm. Often we would use a Windows company, or they would invent a company themselves. We would appoint each of them as a director. They would spend some 20 minutes deciding on how they would interact with that new starter on their first day, guaranteeing their success. Pause this for a moment. Ask yourself the question, what would you do? You see, on page 19 in your thought book, you'll see it says the cold calling analogy. This is the coaching task I'm talking about. Your new starter is only allowed to use a directory of businesses with telephone numbers, a telephone, and a desk. Of course, you could give them a chair if you wish. Your task is to guarantee their success on their first day, so that when they leave that night, at the end of however many hours they worked, they can go home and say, yes, I achieved something. Yes, I made a difference. The thing about this, of course, is when we ask groups of people this, we get all kinds of responses. We have people who tell us all types of grand ideas, and they forget the most important part of coaching. When you're guaranteeing success in an example like this, it's not reflective coaching that's required, it's co-achievement coaching. It's coaching with some answers. It's coaching with some direction. So if you scored yourself highly earlier and you've answered this question, Or you're watching this Firm Excellence session later on, and this is on record. Press pause for a moment and write down your 5 tips for this cold calling analogy. What are they? Think about it for a moment. What would you do? Whatever your answers are, many of the groups would come back and they would attempt to redo an interview. They would spend time letting the person know everything that's going on that day, and by that I often mean absolutely everything. The answers, though, were much simpler than you thought. If someone's job on their first day is, of course, to pick the phone up and ring somebody, the coaching should go a little bit like this. Hello, Mr. New Person. I'm Dave. I'm your boss, and I'd like to just coach you through what we're going to be doing today. Now, we're going to make this really simple, but I want to ask you some very quick questions. Tell me, are you happy, as per the job interview, to start using the phone? So will you pick the phone up? Answer, yes. Brilliant. Will you follow this phone script and ask these couple of simple questions every time you dial someone? Answer, yes. Will you, if they say yes, put them through to this department? Yes. Will you, if they say no, pick the phone back up and start again? Yes. Will you, at the end of each time of doing this, stop every hour to check in with me and see how you're doing? Answer, yes. The coaching could literally be done in less than 2 minutes, and as simple as that. You see, in this example, by the end of the day, they literally could get to the point where they're feeling good and strong about having a successful day on their first day in the office. The other thing about coaching you have to think about is, of course, it is a journey. In terms of your preparation, stopping and thinking to yourself, first of all, how you're going to start the conversation is a critical step. Opening up your thinking in this diagram here shows you in your mind as to why you're doing the coaching. Clarify to yourself the outcome you want both for you, the firm, and the individual. Decide what style you might need to take, how empathetic you might need to be, what level of involvement are you required to give, how you're going to share support and give them a real insight in the tools and techniques and actions they need to take. What results do you want from this? How long has the coaching been going for? What are the agreements, or what is it you need to agree as part of the session? And how are you going to make sure, like with any interaction with someone in your firm, you're going to close in a style befitting of the coaching that's taken place? Preparing for your coaching is critical. And I'd like to share with you now some really good ways to make sure that you connect with your people when you're doing the coaching. When you look at iCOACH, the I is all about influence. The I is about you getting ready. The C, though, is about connecting. Here are 6 things you can literally do to improve the quality of your coaching every time you sit down with somebody. At the top right corner, a simple technique called Match Plus One. I'm going to show you a video on that in a moment. Use great questioning techniques. Find out how somebody is. Use the format model from the first Firm Excellence module, which is around asking about why, what, how, and what if. Use your physiology, which is, of course, your body, as a communication tool. If the person is a lot smaller than you, sit down next to them instead of standing. If that person is older, wiser. Think about the environment you're going to meet them in. Use all of your senses during the communication. If someone says something interesting, it's almost respectful to emphasize with the sound of your voice, your tone, your volume, and your speed. If they show a real interest in something, repeat back to them the words that they use and apply positive language. Always be somebody who shows how. Now, I'd like you to watch this video here from our creative director, Glenn McCoy, who's going to show you in his guerrilla coaching concepts how to do a technique tried and tested, an RLC technique called Match Plus One. Take a look at this.
For many years, they've been a new breed of street entrepreneurs, some still in their teens. But do they badly need some extra help?
So, Steve, Glenn McCoy, Gorillas, we've been asked to come and see you.
Yep.
Your friend up there, Jeremy, works in the office, been seeing you selling Big Issue.
Yep.
How long have you been doing this?
For about 5 months now.
Quick question, do you have a sales strategy? Tell me how you engage people. Would you like to dramatically increase your income?
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do you know what matching is?
Not really.
Okay, so when someone's coming towards you, what do you normally do? Look at their facial expression.
Okay.
Get into the same kind of mode as them, except I'm going to ask you to be a little bit more positive. So, for example, if there's no expression, a bit of a lip movement,
Yeah.
and you might go, Big Issue.
Yeah, okay.
If it's maybe a quarter smile, what would you do?
Half smile.
Exactly, and a half smile?
Full.
Right, okay, that's Match Plus One.
Got you.
And that's real engagement, as opposed to what you're currently doing, which is actually you're putting a lot of people off.
Okay.
Because they don't feel you're in the same place as them, and therefore they move away.
Right.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
Now, coaching is, of course, a critical part of most companies these days. Connecting, though, is even more important. And the importance of connecting goes way beyond just the matching tool itself. I want to remind you that using matching is something you can do in any scenario. Meeting a client, meeting a family member, meeting a colleague. Matching, not mirroring, and I repeat, matching, where you focus on their facial expression, which tells you exactly where they are at that single moment in time. Connecting is a critical part of coaching. I have often been known to say to people that taking the time to connect, and as we say at RLC, really finding time to totally meld, connecting is vital. And if you're coaching somebody for a couple of hours in our world, we may spend as long as it takes to connect with somebody, depending on the vast things and varying things that have gone on in their world and, of course, in their business life. Connecting is the thing that allows you to really set the scene. If you do a coaching and you forget to connect, I almost promise you, in fact, literally guarantee, the coaching will have been nowhere near as effective as you had first thought. You see, in order to do the second part of iCOACH, so once you've connected, which is, of course, opening up the mind to possibilities, you have to have taken the time to connect. You have to have taken the time to make sure that you've prepared the way. Priming your coachee whilst getting ready through connecting is a fundamental process. You have to take the time to really get that rapport not only built, established, and really entrenched. So when you start to think about the art of possibility and what success truly is, they are with you on the journey. Now, in the case of RLC and our iCOACH model, there are a couple of critical things we'd like to share with you. Opening up your conversation as per the tools you'll see on this screen and on this image, we have some coaching questions to share with you on page 19 of your book. Where you have the word coach, by now you should have written the word connect for C. And now we're in the opening your mind and opening your conversation part of the model. When we work in here, you can already see that we use the format model. The format model as a coaching communication tool is really useful. We like to clarify why you're having the session, whether that's you preparing, or whether that's a business requirement, or whether someone has asked for the coaching session. Why are you doing it? What is the outcome you're looking for? Another what question in coaching is, what do you want from this? Another one is, how can this coaching session really help this person's performance? How will a coaching session really assist them in the roles and responsibilities they have in your firm? How can you make sure as a coach that you're ready in your company to give your best efforts with them towards attaining their goal? The what if question is a really great coaching question. It allows you to ask and create countless possibilities. Here's a classic coaching question. What if we removed fear from this scenario and you knew you couldn't fail? Pause for a moment. What does that mean? What if you removed fear and you knew you could not fail? What does that do to you with your coaching requirements? Just for a moment, I'd like you to pause once again. I'm going to ask you a question. I'd like you to apply this coaching model right now, live to your firm. Why are you doing firm excellence? What did you want from this at the start? What could you coach your people? How could you improve to ensure that your firm grows and attains the possibilities you know are in front of you? Open up your mind for a moment and ask the question I just asked. If you knew you couldn't fail in your firm, what would you do first? What is the immediate change you would make tomorrow? Or in this case, even today? Answer that question now. You will see on the screen there is a magic wand. The magic wand is another fabulous coaching question. If you're sitting down with somebody in your firm, or again, you're asking yourself this question, which I'd like you to do in a moment, and take a note of your answer on page 19 of your thought book. Here's the question. If you had a magic wand and you could literally do anything to the success of your company, what would you choose to do and why? Answer that question now. What did you say? What are you writing down? Do you really think it's possible? Is it something you can really see happening in your life? And even if you're a little bit unsure, let's hold your answer and let's apply the rest of the model. Right in the middle of this screen, you will see a lovely red button. Many of you will recognize this red button as a button you can literally buy in Office Depot or Staples here in Europe. When you press the button, it says, "That was easy." And literally they sell it so that you can think of doing a hard task, hit the button, and then apply the right mindset to getting started, and off you go. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves when starting a coaching assignment or starting a coaching task or project in our business to see it as easy rather than challenging. Now let's jump to the other side of the form. You can see a digital TV controller. This is used for live television. This device has one of my favorite techniques built into it. It's called fast forward. Go into the future right now and create in your mind and imagine the answer to the question you just said. If you had a magic wand, what would you literally do to your firm today, right now? Take the fast forward controller. Use it as a time machine. Move into the future and go to 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from now and see yourself in the total possession of the success you deserve. Imagine it as if it's happened. And of course, still using the controller, hit the record key. Store it onto your memory bank and get ready to go back towards today, bringing all that you saw with you, all that you thought, and all of those amazing things. Start putting them into action with immediate effect. There are two other things you'll see on this screen. You have the squeegee used for cleaning windows. You also have an artist's blank easel. Both of these also are fantastic coaching tools. We use the squeegee for doing two things. Firstly, we use it for removing fear. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you choose to do? Think about that for a moment. With any goal you have in your life, in your family, in your relationships, in your work, in your firm, if you couldn't fail, what would you do? Again, I'd like to invite you to answer the question. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? The other question that we like to ask is, if you knew that failure was a real possibility, what would happen if you totally messed this up? And how serious are those consequences to make sure you give it your absolute focus and ensure the complete opposite? For some people, really finding the things that can go wrong is a critical motivator for them. In this case, we're asking people to remove fear or to add it back in. Finally, let's look at the artist's easel. When we're coaching groups at RLC, we often say to them, tell me, why would you have an artist's easel with a brand new blank canvas? And they come up with all kinds of answers, and the actual answer is this. If you had a blank canvas and you were able to start all over again, what would you start with and why? What are the different things you would do? Many of you who've started a payroll vault practice, however successful you've been, I'm sure you have a list of things you wish you could change, go back, and do better. There's nothing like being that business person who's keen and naive and thinks, wow, let's get this all done. And you rush off into the sunset thinking, yep, let's press on ahead. And then all of a sudden you're gifted with business hindsight. Or if you'd only done that, if you'd thought about this is, of course, a reset question. If you reset your firm today, what would be some of the things you would either fix, change, improve, or alter? Again, though, I'd like to ask you to remember your answer. You see, all of these things allow you to think about the goals you need to set. Number one, whether that's a growth goal for your firm. In fact, what is your growth goal for 2017? And by that I mean, how much more revenue and growth and clients do you really want to have? What is your goal? What other goals do you have? At RLC, we like to set 3 goals every single day. We like to make sure that at the start of a day, you know what your key goal is, not task, your key goal. What your reluctant goal is, and of course, your champagne moment. What is it above all that's going on that will make you feel when you get home tonight, you really have had a successful day? The secret to great goals is to make sure they are full of meaning, reason, and purpose. When you put meaning into a goal, it transforms it from being a task. Here's an example. Let's say you have to contact one of your clients. Maybe your goal is to move the process of a new bit of business, move it along a little. You could say, call client X to establish what's going on. Maybe that would be okay. To turn that into a goal, though, you would say it like this. It was so amazing to catch up with Katie Rourke today and establish that the business is going well. She could not wait to book the next meeting, and she even sent me something to review before we get together next Wednesday on the 17th of whatever. Can you spot the difference? Putting some meaning and some action into your goal and making sure you're forming a great outcome transforms the way you coach. Applying this to your coachee and applying this to yourself in your own firm changes the way you create the open mind conversation. Making sure you elicit, which means draw out from the coachee, and of course, making sure that you construct the overall outcome is really important when you're opening the mind and opening the conversation. Do remember the power tools from earlier. Eliminate and confront and deal with any negativity. Help the coachee to clean up their language and really capture what success really could look like. If you get this part of the coaching model right, it transforms the next step, which is, of course, dealing with the actions. Now, just for a moment, go back to page 19. Remember, it's all about connecting. Remember, it's all about opening up great conversations and opening up both your mind and the coachee's mind with all of those questions we've shared today on this call so far. Take the time to answer them for yourself. Apply what you learned in the I Can module to get the most out of opening your own mind. Because then and only then we can start moving towards all of the critical actions you can take in your coaching to help yourself, to help your team and your company get to the next level. There's a simple coaching analogy I like to use around working out what the action steps are. And it's this. Most vehicles are fitted with car headlights ready for driving when it's dark. A car that is parked stationary can only see so far down a dark road. It is only when the car is moving that you're able to see the next few yards and the next few yards, and therefore you're able to start and complete your car journey. Often with goals, it's exactly the same. If your goal is brand new, if your mission is big, sometimes working out the next 3 steps are more than enough. Where you coach your people regularly, which means weekly at the very least, coaching the next couple of steps is relatively straightforward. At RLC, we like to focus on a formula. Number 1, come up with, of course, what your goal is. Number 2, tell me what your 3 main actions are. Number 3, what is the single most important step you need to take today? When we're looking at the actions, it's keeping it simple for 2 reasons. 1, it increases the chances of somebody doing it and achieving it. 2, it introduces clarity so that we all know exactly what's happening and is going to be done next. The last thing I always like to check with actions is, are there any obstacles in the way? Removing obstacles as a coach is critical to achieving success. Also, you take the time to ensure that the coachee genuinely believes this is something they, of course, can really do. When you've done this, we can then ask some fundamental coaching questions. I was talking to a group of people this week about the power of beliefs. As a coach, I personally believe lack of commitment is usually caused by a belief issue. And that belief issue is, I don't believe you. How many times in your company and in your firm or in previous jobs you've had, have you seen people not deliver against company objectives, not deliver against things they were asked to do? How many times have you seen somebody underperform against targets? Or where key performance indicators are involved, how many times have you seen someone underperform and go unpunished or unaddressed? Around the world today, many companies are obsessed with a phrase called Net Promoter Score. It's a process for measuring how happy your customers are, of course, with your firm. Many people in big companies fail to adopt it as a real measure of success, mostly because they don't believe it's a valuable metric. Real NPS scores or real customer service satisfaction scores really do tell us what your clients and what your customers think of your firm. Often the one thing that gets in the way of discussions when they're held around these areas of the company is the beliefs people have about the product and the service. Commitment is always guaranteed when someone says, yep, I totally 100% believe I can do this. It is the key cog to any great coaching conversation. You have to be able to work out and identify how committed the person is. Here's the killer question. When you ask somebody, how serious are you on a scale from 1 to 10, there are only a couple of answers. Somebody might say, for example, 8 out of 10, or 7. If I was to say to you, what would you do next? I'm sure you all have answers. And of course, all of your answers are most likely to be correct. At RLC, we like to ask a single question. So let's imagine for a moment you said 8 out of 10. Instead of asking, how do I get you to a 9? Or what's stopping you being a 10? Or any other intelligent question you could have asked, we like to focus on a single question which you can see on the screen. Oh, you're an 8? Ah, right. Tell me, what is more important than this? What's great about this question, as you've probably just worked out in your mind, there are again only a couple of answers. Here's the first one. Nothing. Could it be the person scored an 8 because they were being slightly reserved, and therefore they didn't realize till you asked them that nothing else was more important than this? What's great about this answer is people naturally start to realize it is a 10 that's required. The second type of answer you could get to this question of what is more important than this is they may very well have something. In the rare cases where the idea they have is better than yours, and equally, it's even better for the firm, have the leadership humility to adjust your coaching and to go with their suggestion. Coaching is not a one-way street. From time to time, the colleagues in your company will have ideas way beyond your own imagination. And when you're lucky enough to come across it, and you know it's something you should do, be humble enough to adjust. The final answer to this question is, of course, a readjustment by the coachee. Oh, I realize that actually this is really important. And then, of course, if they do have something else that's not really that strategically important, just pause your coaching and have a candid conversation and work it out together. If you want to get commitment in your coaching, you have to know how to work out how serious your people are. Hearing a yes never means a yes. In coaching, when someone says to you, yes, I'm going to do this, you need to validate by being certain they mean they're going to see through the actions. This is the only way you can plan for successful habits. Habits are formed through being clear about your outcomes. I'd like you to stop for a moment and think about the habits that you have. Let me remind you again about iCOACH. I is about influence. It's about you getting ready to influence yourself to be at your best, and of course, to influence the coachee towards their goals. The C is about commitment. The first C is about connection. In the middle is opening up your mind and getting ready to work out the next actions. The final part is about successful habit creation. As part of firm excellence so far, do you know your story? Have you written an article about the future success of your firm? Have you taken the time to think about all the elements you're going to apply back in your business? Have you stopped to see your future? Have you worked out the next steps during 2017? And are you capturing the moments of success that come along the way? When you're removing negativity and you're focusing on the possibility and the world of can, when you're applying the I can model, when you're coaching your people through iCOACH, it is critical to take the time to celebrate with your people daily the things that they do well. Inspiration never happens by itself. It is 100 times more effective when it's something that you do every day. Our success habits are literally down to us. The heart of your organization will be encouraged or deflated by being clear about what you see yourself doing well, what you hear yourself saying to others, and how you're feeling and behaving. As a coach, I like to build habits into daily pictures, weekly pictures, and monthly pictures. I like to consider with a coachee, what's the difference I'm going to see in you tomorrow? What will I notice a month from now? How will I know you're still doing it? I literally ask them to tell me in a habit form the change they're going to make. I also like to ask them from an auditory perspective, from a sound-based sensory experience, what will I hear people saying about you to others? Building success habits only happen when you map out what the habits look, sound, and feel like. iCOACH, which I invented many years ago, was designed when we'd done some work visiting a school. iCOACH was designed to simplify coaching for an education audience. since then, back in 2006, when I first wrote and copyrighted iCOACH, I can genuinely tell you it's been used as a simple, fast coaching technique in companies all over the world to embed, sustain, and start really effective coaching. The model's designed so that you can remember what to do whilst you're coaching. You can literally sit there and think to yourself, I coach. Right, what do I need to do? Yep, connect, open the mind, work out the actions, test someone's commitment, and then work out what does habit look like, sound like, and feel like. As we bring this week's module to a close, and I remind you excitingly about our next session, just stop for a moment. Earlier in the call, I asked you, how good are you at coaching? If you scored highly, and you put a score down maybe of 6 upwards to 10, are you really as good as you think? Out of the iCOACH model, what area are you least equipped in? What do you need to improve? As a coach who's coached now for 12 years, over thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, I still decide in every coaching session, I make a choice to do 2 things, and I make a conscious choice to do it. Here's number 1. Believe in the person you're coaching. Get yourself ready to be at your best. Here's number 2. Take the time to connect with your coachee. Now, as we draw this module to a close, and we open up, of course, the whole system, ready for you to ask me some questions. Just going to bring our video back on. I'd like you just to start thinking about what are the questions you'd like to ask about coaching. And if there's somebody out there, I'm just going to check here. We're live with the chat function. Nice to see you, Jessica, of course. She responded earlier. Does anybody have any questions about coaching in their firm? Or perhaps some coaching examples of challenges they might be having, people they might have some challenges to coach out there on the call? Is there anybody who'd like to, of course, challenge us for some questions on coaching? You're all being really kind today. Katie's just asked me a question about the coaching. Thank you, Katie. And Katie's written, what do you do with somebody if you're coaching them and you naturally don't actually get on with them? That's a really good question, Katie. One of the things that when you're working with someone who perhaps you don't get on with that well, and you often find you're struggling a little bit with the coaching and it's very difficult to connect with them, one of the things that we recommend is rather than focusing on building rapport in lots of different ways, focus on a single thing that you have in common. Focus on something that you both know you do like, understand, and connect with. Build your rapport from one place of commonality as you do the connect part of the model. Many of us will connect on many different levels, but that's the top tip from us here at RLC. When you're working with someone, perhaps you're finding it difficult to work with like that, find the single thing that's going to help you really connect with them and have that one thing in common. Thanks, Katie. Are there any other questions out there people have around the coaching today? Did anybody have, of course, a really big answer to some of the questions I was asking of you during the module? We're just going to hold another moment. And of course, if there are no questions, we are equally as delighted with that. I want to encourage you just to take the time to apply the iCOACH model first to you, and of course, to then apply it with some people in your firm and in your practice. If you are someone who wants a little bit more help with coaching, and you want to explore coaching even with us or some of our team, please do have the freedom to get in touch with us at RLC. You know our email addresses. I'll tell you what they are anyway. Dave@rlc-global.com, or of course, info@rlc-global.com. You can get in touch with any of us, and we would be delighted to help you more if you've got some personal coaching requirements. That said, all that said and done, I want to encourage you to use the iCOACH model, apply it with the people in your firm, apply that with the people, of course, who you're working with and yourself. And we look forward to seeing you live next week on the next module of Firm Excellence. Thank you for tuning in. Just going to end the recording. So thank you very much for tuning in.